sound better.
So Moses here with w.a.production, and today is a super exciting day. I'm going to be running you through our new plugin Biggifier developed with Aden. This is a one knob plugin that can make your flaccid sound absolutely massive. So if you suffer from flaccid sounds and you are lacking that spice, that punch to make your sound bigger, then definitely check out this video and stay to the end. So let's dive straight into it. So this is a little thing that I put together just so we can demo out the plugin and hear what it can do. So this is made using a combination of w.a.production synths and some samples that I found online. I've tried to go for some weaker samples for the drums so that we can really hear how the Biggifier works. I'm also going to be running a bit through how we can use the Biggifier in a creative way to create some kind of sounds that we might not normally make. So without further ado, let's have a quick run through of the UI of the plugin and kind of investigate further how we can use it in our own productions. So this is what the plugin looks like, and it's a very simply laid out, very effective distortion plugin that can just make your sound a little bit crispier and kind of gives it a bit of an analog feeling to the sounds. You have your input level here and your output level here. You then have the length of the sound, and then this is just kind of like a reverb that's built in, and it kind of can just bring out the tail of the sound and just make the sounds sound a little bit bigger and kind of give them their own space. It's also super cool to automate this and create some kind of stereo width in bass lines, which we'll be looking at further on in the video. You then have the main dial here, which is just the Bigness, which is kind of just the driver mount. You then have your wet-dry mix. You then have your different modes down here, and you've kind of got drivers, verbs, choirs, and each one of them behaves in a slightly different way. One thing that I really like about the UI is as you increase or decrease the Bigness, you get the slight shattering of the output dial here, which I think is a super nice touch and really makes you feel like you're shattering your sounds and making them big and punchy. For the drums, these are what they sound like by themselves. Now, something that Biggifier is really great for is obviously processing effects, but I've actually used it as the reverb for this drum channel. You can see here in the Ableton drum rack, we've got my B-verb set up, and that's just the Biggifier with quite a bit of distortion and a short length going on. So we'll just solo that to hear what that sounds like by itself. Now this is quite cool because a standard reverb unit doesn't necessarily introduce that distortion and that crispness. And what that distortion and crispness is doing is it's actually raising the reverb up a little bit in the mix and making it more audible to us and kind of giving us that crispy, analog, kind of sought after sound. And for such a small package, it's really great, and it's on our website and it's linked down in the description, so make sure to go and check it out after this video. There is a trial version so you can test it out to see how it fits into your workflow style and if you could actually see yourself using it. Now, I purposely chose quite a small kick. I'll just play you the kick with the Biggifier turned off. It's kind of not got much to it, it's just a kind of flat, kind of subby kick. Now with the Biggifier added, it sounds a bit like this. I'll just solo it and we'll just play through so we can hear what it's doing. You can hear that it's kind of taking some of the roundness out of the bottom end, but really elevating the kind of mids and tops of the sound. Now this is really great because it's going to make it stand out a lot in the mix. I'll play it with the whole drums and then I'll turn it on off just so you can hear the difference. So this is with it off. And this is a bit with it on. You can hear it just helps it to kind of pop through a bit more. And now this is on a very delicate setting, but you can push it to the extreme if you want, and don't be afraid to push that dial all the way up to 100%. We then have a very basic snare, again, with another Biggifier running, and I'll just open that so we can hear what it's doing. Just adding a little bit of saturation and kind of crispness to the sound that it was otherwise lacking. Again, this plugin really does remind me of a kind of analog mild saturation unit, and it's quite nice just to put kind of on everything, just to give it a little bit of crispness and a little bit of clarity in the mix. We then have a bunch of hi-hats, and I've only put it on the first hi-hat just because I felt it wasn't quite cutting through as I wanted to. So this is what this hi-hat sounds like. You can hear here how the length is really bringing out a little bit of kind of delay and slapback with the sound. And this is it in with the entire drum mix. So you can hear that you can use it either in a super subtle way to bring out the sounds, or you can kind of overdrive it a bit to give it a bit more character. It's really a great plugin, like I said, for slapping on every single channel, just to kind of give it a little bit of kind of almost preamp distortion and saturation as you're going into your mix chains. It's also great for sub basses. Now this is just a super simple patch in Babylon, which is also linked in the description below. Now this is just a super simple sine patch, not really doing much. This is it without the Biggifier. You can hear quite plain and simple. And now we've added the Biggifier on, we kind of get this nice kind of distorted, crispy, but still retaining the subbiness of the sound. It is normally quite hard to kind of differentiate your subs and your 808s in your mix, and a lot of that is just because it is so much low end. By putting the Biggifier on, you've kind of introduced some kind of saturation distortion, which brings up the mids and the highs, which again makes it just cut through the mix a bit better. So I'll just quickly play it, the whole song, with the Biggifier turned off from the sub, and then I'll turn it on and off intermittently so we can hear kind of what it's doing. You can hear that when it turns on, you kind of feel like the sub's there. It's not a massive effect, it's not like we're slamming a massive 808 distortion on it and it's like blowing up the whole room. It's just helping it cut through the mix a little bit better. So I'll also now show you it on the main bass sound I've got, because I've done a little bit of automation on the length to kind of give it a bit of a journey and give it a bit of a story. So this main bass line is actually just a preset from Imperfect, another one of our own synths. As well as all these synths being available to buy separately, they're also all available on the subscription model, along with Biggifier. So if that's something that interests you, I think it's $16.99 a month, and you get access to all of our plugins, as well as 800 sound slots per month for you to really amp up your production game with some fresh samples on a kind of budget-friendly approach. So I've just used a basic patch from this, and it's not doing anything too fancy. There is a little bit of automation happening on the slide chain as it plays out. But the main thing I want to focus on here is the Biggifier. So I'll just have it up while we play through it again. You hear that by having the length up with the distortion, it adds a really nice kind of tail to the sound that wasn't otherwise there. I'll just play it through without it so you can hear the difference. And you can see that as we are modulating it up, you suddenly get all this space and width in the bass line, which I think sounds super nice and tasteful. So as well as being a subtle effect, you can also use it to get some kind of creative sound design going on and kind of add that crispy layer to bass lines that you're otherwise lacking sometimes. And sometimes we don't need a high level distortion unit because it kind of literally overdoes it with the overdrive. So this is really great for just adding that kind of subtle harmonics and subtle saturation to the sound. I then also have it on this Serum patch here. Super simple kind of Reese bass line just to finish off the section. Now the Biggifier is kind of just doing a really nice job of picking up the distortion and picking up the sounds we've got here and just really bringing out the harmonics and kind of maximizing the sound. So this is it without the Biggifier on. You can hear that it adds a bit of chorus, adds a bit of separation, and just brings a unique angle to the sound that normally takes quite a bit of work to kind of get to. And then lastly, I just have it running very simply on this little bass hit that we've got here. Again, just giving it a bit of room and a kind of bit of juicy kind of saturation on the top of it. And now I'll just play the whole track for you through once again. So that just about sums it up for this kind of quick intro into Biggifier. I hope you've enjoyed it, and please go have a look at the plugin, download the trial version, and drop in the comments how you're finding using it and what you've been creating, because we'd love to hear from you. Make sure to subscribe to the channel to get notified for the next video when it comes out, and hit the little like button if you enjoyed what you saw. Until the next time, peace out.